Excadrill EX is a really interesting card because the piercing drill attack allows for a lot of really cool lines to be able to do and some pretty cool setup. And so the main thing here is that we just need to find out how we're going to get damage on our opponent's bench in order to use the piercing drill. And obviously the best pairing for that is going to be Froslass, since we have the freezing shroud, and then Munkidori to be able to move it to basics that don't have any form of ability or anything like that. The main game plan of this deck is that we want to make sure that we're setting this up as fast as possible, so that way when our opponent plays basic Pokemon down, we're able to just go Adrenaline and move the damage counters over, and then snipe them out a little bit easier by being able to do the 60 damage plus the 30 from Munkidori, or even 10 in some cases, to be able to snipe out basic Pokemon like Charmander or a Dreepy or whatever the case may be, to be able to knock those out much easier. One of the other things too that makes this deck a little bit interesting as well is the fact that we're playing Fighting Energy, which allows us to play Ethan's Sudowoodo, which is really powerful because it has the impound attack, which is just like corner from Maractus. But now we don't need to worry about the fact that we have an ability on ourselves, so we're never just stacking damage on ourselves from the Froslass as where you would with a Maractus, as well as the fact that you have a 1 retreat cost, which is pretty nice. Obviously Maractus is 2, so it makes it a little bit easier to be able to manipulate the card, to be able to like move it around, things like that, as well as the fact that it's a fighting type Pokemon, which means that if your opponent plays a Mew, or if your opponent plays a Latias, then you can hit into them. They'll have resistance, so you never actually do any damage. So you can just keep it stuck in the active for as long as you want, which is really good. And so since you're playing Fighting Energy, Sudowoodo just kind of pops off. One of the other things as well that we're playing in this deck is we're playing a copy of Gravity Gemstone, just to also help keep things in the active. We can counter catch something up, bring in our Excadrill, and just kind of trap something there for a couple turns, which can be really good. We're also playing the Calamitous Wasteland for the same point, just to help trap things in the active if we have to, which also feels pretty good because we are playing 2 copies of Budew, which puts in a ton of work in this deck because your setup is a little slow, and so being able to use Budew early to kind of keep them item locked and things like that is really good and pretty powerful. One of the other things as well, this is unrelated, but I just figured I'd say it. I don't know why, but I decided to use like high rarity for this video. I normally always keep everything in like the lowest form. Main reason, I just like this card. I just like looking at his face. The Excadrill's face is really dumb looking in this art, and I just think it's really funny. So I wanted to use it. So definitely let me know if you care in any form or fashion, like if you prefer the videos to be in high rarity, or if you want them in, you know, the like common variety, or if it doesn't make a difference to you at all. The export for the list, because the list will be down in the description, will be in like standard format. It won't have like all the high rarity stuff, so you know, it doesn't really matter. But I figured I'd ask and kind of point that out. Lastly, I have 2 little announcements before we get into the video. First, I want to give a special shout out to the channel members. Thank you guys so much for that additional level of support. It really does go a long way. It means a lot, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, so thank you so much. And then the other one is that this video has been a little bit delayed because it was my girlfriend's birthday weekend, and so I've been very busy with that. But with that being said, I think it'd be really cool, so if you guys wouldn't mind just wishing her a happy birthday in the comments, just so that way I can like show it to her and stuff like that. I feel like she'd really appreciate it and stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind, just leave happy birthday in the comments for her, just so I can show it to her, and I think she'd really appreciate it, and I think it'd be sweet. So if you guys wouldn't mind, feel free to do that. It would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's just about it. We'll jump into the games in a second, and I'll see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into the game, and we'll be going first. Our opponent won the coin flip. We are going to mulligan. Honestly, not horrible to mulligan that hand away. Our opponent's going to mulligan as well, so that will give us some things. We just see rare candy fire energies. I can only assume that means that we are up against like Charizard or something, which isn't honestly terrible for us. We'll see what we're able to get off our top deck. If we're able to top deck a Buddy Poffin, that would be really nice. This is where like Arven comes in kind of clutch. Just so we could go like Drilbur Froslass or Drilbur Snorunt, place the dark energy or the fighting energy down onto the Drilbur. But we'll see. We are going to get one card off a mulligan, so that's going to help us out as well. To get a little deeper into our deck, hopefully find something a little bit useful. Because right now our turn 1, it feels really bad. Our turn 2 wouldn't have been very bad, but... Alright, hopefully our opponent decides to play the game. They're taking their sweet old time to decide what they want to do. Hey buddy, come on. We got a game to play. Alright, thank you. Yep, there's the Charmander. I thought we would draw off the mulligan, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did we not? That's weird. Okay. That's weird. Okay. I guess not. Did I decline it? Did it just not give it to me? Am I being confused for no reason? Because we both took one. Alright, whatever. There's the Dreepy. We're going to be a turn behind, but it's fine. We'll be able to go Arven for Buddy Poffin, put an energy onto the Drilbur. Fez being on the board is pretty good for us, honestly. Buddy Poffin comes out. This will be nice if we can just item lock for like a turn or two with the Budew. And we do have access to holding on to the Pokégear. That's annoying, but with the Arven, we're going to be able to get the Air Balloon anyway. Okay, there's a Dark Energy, which is fine by us. As long as our Air Balloon is not prized, which it is not, we're totally fine here. So we're going to go Buddy Poffin to get us Snorunt Drilbur. Then what we can do is Air Balloon, retreat, bring our Budew in, go Fighting Energy on to that, then go Itchy Pollen. That'll set this up, but more importantly, what it's going to allow us to do is on the next turn, provided we find another Fighting Energy, so like, okay, Artisan is not bad for us. We keep them item locked. What's going to be good is that we only need a turn or two. So we'll be able to go Froslass, evolve into this. We'll go Pokégear. We don't find... The main thing is that we didn't find Crispin, and that's what I was hoping for. So I'm going to let this go because I am going to go research. We'll go Artisan, grab ourselves another Munkidori. Use the Artisan. Cool. So now we have everything we need for the next turn. We can go for this, grab our Snorunt, and get the Budew into play. Or sorry, we got the Froslass damage into play. The reason why this is important is because now we can go for the Fighting Energy onto the Excadrill. We can retreat this out, move Fez, we can move Munkidori damage onto the other Charmander or the Dreepy, whichever one we want to target, to be able to knock those out. We keep them item locked for a turn, which is good for us, obviously. And then what we're going to do here is, like I said, we're going to go Fighting Energy down. And then from here, what we can do is go Arven, use the Arven to find ourselves a Unfair Stamp in advance, as well as a Gravity Gemstone. The reason why we want to find the Unfair Stamp in advance is so that way on this upcoming turn, when they are going to evolve something that will end up knocking us out potentially, we'll be able to just unfair right away. Now that we place that damage though, what we're going to be able to do is go for the Piercing Drill, knock out both Charmanders, removing those from the game, and kind of removing that from being a problem. And the main thing now is, like, we can just keep this going by moving the Munkidori damage. We have a Dark Energy to set this up. We have potential to go for TM Evo as well. They make another Charmander, that's fine. We can literally just keep sniping this out. We see Rare Candy for Dracopult. We'll see if they have the Neo Upper. If they don't, that's fine. The goal is still relatively the same. And what our line is here is, honestly, we can ignore the Dracopult. What the line's going to be is that we look to KO Cleffa as well as the Charmander. That'll put us to 2 prize cards needed. And then after that, we place one more Fighting Energy onto the Excadrill and use Rock Tumble in order to knock out the Fez. If they have the energy to retreat into and like attack into the Dracopult, it changes our play a little bit, but not like dramatically. Because then we go Dark Energy attached to Munkidori, use the Unfair Stamp like we planned to see if we can get into boss's orders, where we like boss something. Probably, yeah, like the easiest thing to boss would be this incoming Dracloak. So that way, Dracloak won't be able to retreat from the Latios. That'll give us a turn to move damage counters around again and things like that. So we're pretty much good to go here. We have enough damage to take all the prize cards we need. We see only 1 energy attached. They go for the Grasping Draw. So because we didn't see Neo Upper, we're really safe here. It still keeps Unfair Stamp live as well. We'll go Dark Energy down. We don't have to do anything. Like, we can just keep kind of sitting here like this. And then one of the other things too is that we can go for the Gravity Gemstone. We'll go Brain, move 30 damage there. We'll move 20 damage on to this. Kind of open that up as well. And then from here, like I said, we can go for the drill. Use the drill at this point to just KO the Dracloak in the back. And that will kind of seal the deal for that. Because the main thing here is, like, also, like, we literally would just go Fighting Energy. If they snipe out the Budew on our bench or anything like that, we get to go into Unfair. And then we're really just looking for a boss into the Rock Tumble. And even if we didn't get it, like, we'd be able to stack enough damage to kind of go for whatever we want. So that was a pretty easy one. And yeah, that's kind of going to be it for that game, and we'll go into the breakdown or game 2 or whatever. I don't know where I'm going to put this in the video because I'm recording all this before I do all that. But yeah, we'll see either another game after this or we'll go into the breakdown, and I'll see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into the game, and our opponent's going to be going first. We'll see what we get. We do open Drilbur. We do have our Buddy Poffin with an energy, our Excadrill. We're up against Dracopult, which, if we can get a top deck Arven here, honestly, we can be in a really good position. Alright, that's pretty good. since we'll be able to go Buddy Poffin TM Evo with a Nest Ball, get ourselves Munkidori. We have the energy on for the Drilbur. Alright, we were going to top deck one anyway, that's pretty cool. So what we'll do is we'll grab double Froslass or Snorunt. That way we can evolve into that. We'll go Munkidori. So we'll go TM for Nest Ball. Yeah. Alright. I'm saying a lot of things, but they'll make sense later. We'll go Arven for Nest Ball. I don't have TM Evo. I looked for everything but the TM Evo. Alright, that's really annoying. That kind of completely changes how this works. Alright, we'll go Air Balloon, Buddy Poffin. Yeah. So we're gonna have to change how our play looks here. We're gonna grab ourselves double Budew. We're gonna go Fighting Energy on to the Drilbur, Air Balloon, Retreat, bring this in, Itchy Pollen, just so that way they aren't able to go and start being really annoying by going for some sort of like rare candy into like Charizard EX play. If we had TM Evo, we would have been able to go Munkidori here, be able to have our Froslass out. That would have put damage onto the Munkidori. Then we go for a evolution attack. Like, we would have been in a pretty good spot. Alright, our opponent did nothing because they got item locked, which meant our pivot was pretty good. We're going to just retreat out, bring this in, go for the piercing drill, and take the knockout. So a little bit unfortunate for them. Shout out to Excadrill here. But we played the pivot correctly, which was the right call. Obviously, for them not to have any form of other basics really sucks, but things kind of worked out for us. And yeah, that's going to be game number 1, which is kind of corny that they didn't have any other basics, but it just is what it is. The pivot play that we made was the right call, so we had to, you know, kind of work with what we got. But yeah, that's going to be game number 1. We'll jump into the next one in a sec. Peace. Alright, we're into the game. Our opponent's going to be going first. We'll see what we get and what they're playing in a moment. We do open up Sudowoodo. We also have Munkidori. We do have a Dark Energy. I'm honestly fine going Sudowoodo down for right now with the Munkidori. We're going to pass, because if we can just get some impounding off, that is totally fine with us, especially because they open Mew. So we might get away with this. Obviously, they're probably just going to retreat it out, bring something in, but even still, just getting a couple turns off with that will feel pretty good. We can go Crispin as well, and if they forget to retreat out the Mew, we're going to take full advantage of that by going Crispin, just powering up everything that we have. We see the Golden Flame come out. 2 energy on to the Slugma. Slugma what, dude? Ultra Ball comes out. Gets rid of their supporter. And one other card. We will see a restart from them, I'm sure. They go Macargo. So guaranteed on the next turn, they restart for 2, and we'll see what they move to go into. They might not retreat. They don't. They kind of forget about it. I think that they weren't really thinking in this moment. So what we'll do is go... Honestly, we have time, because it doesn't really matter if we power up the Munkidori here. So I'm just going to get rid of the Devo. I'm going to grab myself 1 Fighting Energy just to keep everything in my deck. I'm going to place this down and then go Research, I think is the best play to make here. So that way we get to go for the Snorunt, as well as... We don't really have to do anything here, actually. We can just attack, keep this locked. We know that Macargo is the only card in their hand. They will be able to restart for some more, but we're not really worried about it. They can't do anything to really get out of this, and that's going to allow us to play our Froslass down, be able to go Arven on the next turn. We have the Dark Energy to set up our Munkidori, and then from there we can start to set up our Drilbur as well, which will be really good for us. And we're going to be stacking damage onto all of these. And then what the play will be is that we find ourselves like an Air Balloon or something. Be able to move, bring in the Excadrill, and then snipe out the 60 damage on whatever it is that we need just to kind of finish off the game. Or we can just retreat out the Sudowoodo as well. They place Fez down. That was a very bad idea, because we're not going to be taking any prize cards while that matters, and that's just another thing that's going to get damage stacked up on it. They do have the Prime Catcher, but that's totally fine with us as well, because this is one of their switch tools, and we're going to be able to Arven for a counter catcher regardless. Obviously, there's other things we'd like to have done like first, but it's fine to do this. And just go counter catcher, force them to have to play out these tools. They take a prize, we bring back in Sudowoodo. We get another Munkidori, we can just play that down, play the energy, go ahead and Arven, use the Arven for a counter catcher, and we'll grab our Air Balloon as well. And then we go counter catch. We'll pull up the Latias and go for the impound. And then on the next turn, we go for an Arven to get ourselves the Buddy Poffins to start setting up our other plays. So, I mean, this is definitely going to be a much slower game, but this is how we're going to have to play it with what we're up against. We see fighting energies come out, or sorry, fire energies get added to hand, but it doesn't do too much for them. Like I said, they already used their Prime Catcher. If they try to boss something up for a turn, we can go Air Balloon. So if they don't play Switch, which I don't think they will because they're already playing the Latias, or a Penny, which I also don't think they are, this is going to become a little bit more difficult for them. Golden Flame comes out, adding 2 to the Ho-Ho. Does this move from anything or itself? Discard up to 5 energies from this Pokemon. Okay. So there's the boss's orders to try to trap us. That's fine. We go Air Balloon. Just retreat this out. Bring in our Pseudo. There's an Ultra Ball. So we place this, and I'm sure they're just going to concede when they see us do this. But that's fine. Grab the TM Evo. Now that we're going to use it, but it does just work for extra stuff to discard. There's going to be our Snorunt and Drilbur. And then from here, we'll go for the impound, which is totally fine. In comes Jamming Tower. Another boss's orders. So, minorly annoying, but this is also fine. It's just pulling the resources out. They can't retreat on this turn anyway, so now the main thing is that we just want to find an energy. There's the Stretcher. So we'll go Stretcher, grab our Dark Energy. They're going to be very upset. We retreat, bring this back in, go Froslass, and then from here what we'll do is, because they probably have more boss's orders, and the only thing that we're not going to be able to pull out right now is the Excadrill. We're actually not going to play it, plus we don't have energies for it regardless. So we're fine taking a turn, just kind of chilling, going impound. And then on the next turn, we can go Fighting Energy onto the Drilbur. We'll go Luminous Energy on the turn after onto the Munkidori. And then we'll go Research. So our whole plan is kind of laid out. And this is kind of a thing of like just being able to impound. Now, obviously, they shouldn't have played the Latias down, and their goal should have been to pick up the Mew EX. Iono comes in. That's totally fine with us. There's our Excadrill. We have a Fighting Energy available, so we can actually just go Fighting Energy onto the Drilbur again, like I said. We can go Iono, because if we can find Crispin for a future turn, that's also good. We saw 2 Boss's Orders come out already. And this is why Sudowoodo is so good. And plus, like, the other benefit of Sudowoodo in these cases, like, we can go Fighting Energy down, and then we'll take 20 damage and just start moving it onto this. The main reason why Sudowoodo is so good in these situations is the fact that Maractus would be taking damage from our Froslass, and we are in a situation now where like that's not happening. And because that's not happening, we get time to set up like our Munkidoris. We don't have to worry about like other things, and we can just sit here indefinitely and not have to worry about it. On the next turn, we'll go Dark Energy down onto the Munkidori, and we will have access to boss to rotate these around if we need to for whatever reason. We see energy onto the Slugma. There's a boss's orders. And this is why we didn't evolve the Drilbur. Everything else is a 1 energy retreat cost Pokemon. If we had evolved Excadrill, that would no longer be the case. So we had to play it a little smarter. There's the Crispin. That works out in our favor, because now not only do we get to retreat. Yep, and that's going to be it. So, I mean, honestly, that was just Sudowoodo, you know, being the star of the show. That didn't really get to show off Excadrill, but it gets to show why Sudowoodo is so good, and just, like, the benefit of having in the deck, since we're already playing Fighting Energy, is really good. Obviously, our opponent made a lot of mistakes playing the Mew and the Latias. They needed to retreat the Mew immediately and try to get it off the board. And then playing Latias was, like, their biggest mistake, but, yeah, that was not great from them, but yeah, we'll jump into game 2 in a second. I'll see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into the game, and our opponent's going to be going first. We open Drilbur double Munkidori. We're just going to play 1 for now. We do have the Sudowoodo, which is pretty nice. We have Crispin as well. We see Budew and Slowpoke, so we're up against a Slowking deck. There's the Academy at Night. That's going to be pretty annoying. Definitely something we're not the most happy about. Let's see, Ultra Ball for not sure what. Squawkabilly. Okay, makes sense. Night Stretcher comes out to get the Psychic Energy attached to the Slowbro, then go Squawk. Does get rid of their Penny, which means our Sudowoodo kind of opens up as being a little bit more viable in this matchup, especially with the Squawkabilly there. You see the Natu come down, Toxagiri. They could retreat into the Toxagiri. They choose not to. So I'm going to go ahead and place this, place that. And then what I'm going to do is go Academy at Night, so I can move the Crispin on top. Then go Iono, so I'm guaranteed Crispin on my next turn to power up both Munkidoris if I have to. Where we do end up getting Snorunt, and then I can go Buddy Poffin as well. for one more. And then I can go Fighting Energy onto that, go TM Evo to make double Froslass to start powering up, or like start getting damage onto the Squawkabilly and the Toxagiris. Since I'm really going to need that. And obviously it does set my Munkidoris on a timer, but honestly for right now that's fine. And if I top deck into Excadrill, then that's even better for me, because I'll be able to go Fighting Energy and then Dark Energy to the Munkidori. But if not, I can just kind of deal with whatever's coming my way. Okay, Iono comes out, where we get Dark Energy guaranteed. That's kind of nice. And then if they go Budew, I won't be able to Pokégear. If they don't, I'm going to go Pokégear, see if I can still hit Crispin. But if not, I can go Dark Energy down Iono. Clairvoyant Sense. We get 2. Because worst case scenario here, we see the Kyurem, and we like really need to avoid that. Like that's the #1 thing we need to be avoiding. Okay, we get a counter catcher. We are item locked, so we're gonna go ahead and first things first, move damage off this and knock out the Budew, see what we can get off our prize cards, because we can potentially find ourselves like an Excadrill or something. We find a Buddy Poffin, they bring that up. What I'm going to do is go Academy at Night here and use that with the Dark Energy. That way I can guarantee that on my next turn. And then from here, I'm still going to go Iono just so I can keep the Pokégear available. Haven't found my Excadrills, and that's kind of annoying. And then from here, I'm going to go Wasteland just to see. They might not have the Stadium in hand, and if they don't, that's super beneficial to me. If they do, then it kind of just is what it is. I kind of have to just live with that. But we will have Dark Energy available for our next turn. Pretty much guaranteed, and like I said, if I hit Crispin, you know, that's great. It will be kind of difficult for them to retreat their Slowpoke unless they have a switch or a penny or something similar. On the next turn, we're going to get a prize card from the Munkidori, as well as being able to knock out the Xatu if we want, by moving the damage over, because we'll have access to 60 damage. Okay, well, we would have had access to 60 damage, potentially, still do, but we'll have to see. Best case scenario, we get Excadrill, Crispin. We do not. We do still have Luminous Energy. We do have Arven as well, to where we could use Arven to get ourselves Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball, place the Fighting Energy down, and start attacking. Which wouldn't be a bad idea, because it would also help us get around this. They do have the Jet Energy, something I wasn't completely prepared for. The question is, do they have the Stadium? Because if they can go Stadium with Kieran, then it's a problem. If they can't, you know, less so. So they get the KO, we bring up the Drilbur. Frozen Shroud comes in. We take one prize, where we get an Earthen Vessel. Alright, we get an Arven. From there, I think we have to place Luminous down. And from here, we'll go Brain. Move the damage to this. Knock out the Xatu, take another prize. Cool. So we get the counter catcher. Which we can't use right this second. Which feels a little bad. We'll go Arven here. Unfair Stamp with an Air Balloon. We'll go we'll go Air Balloon onto the Drilbur. We'll go Unfair, put them to 2. Again, just make it a little bit harder because if they don't have the stadium, their deck gets a lot worse. And then we can pass from here. On the next turn, go Fighting Energy down, potentially get into our other Crispin. Or if we top deck into Boss, that's when we start to Boss Trap like the Squawkabilly or something. We see the Night Stretcher come out. Flip the script. Night Stretcher again for Toxagiri. Toxagiri to the active. We see 2 Jet Energy used. Lana's Aid comes out. Lana's Aid can get them the Xatu, but that's about it. Can get them some Budews. This could set up for a really strong turn for us if we're able to get a... I mean, we need Excadrill, obviously. But even a TM Devo would be good because we can knock out... like, we could set up damage onto this. We could also look for a knockout here as well, because we can do 10 damage to this. How much do we need to do? 40. We could actually KO this, so let's do I'll do 20 damage. This is doing 20 in between turns, so then we can just set that up, go research, find ourselves the Excadrill just for the fun of it, and pass our turn. And from there, Froslass will do everything else that we needed it to do. So we didn't really get to use Excadrill in the way that we wanted. Things didn't really work out the way we planned. But that's also because we really had to play around Kyurem. Like we just had to keep shuffling hands every turn. Because if they got into the Kyurem, we were gonna kind of struggle a lot. So we kind of had to play that matchup a little differently than maybe we intended, but it did work out because we were able to move our damage counters around and play around our Munkidoris correctly. So that's the other thing too, is like Drilbur and like Excadrill are really nice, but you also just have the Froslass Munkidori combo in its own, so you kind of get the benefit of that package as well. So it kind of gives you a variety of ways to be able to pivot and play out of things. But yeah, that'll be game number 1, and we'll jump into game 2 in a second. I'll see you guys there. Peace. Going into the breakdown for Excadrill EX, I think this deck is a lot of fun to be able to use because it does offer some challenges, because Excadrill is not the easiest card to use. It can be a little bit tricky in order to set up lines with, so I find it a lot of fun to kind of be able to use and manipulate and things like that. As for its power, it's a little bit on the weaker side for sure, because of the fact that You're only hitting for 60. Now you can use the Rock Tumble for 200, which can be good into Pheasantipity, because you hit it for weakness. It can also be good into something like Squawkabilly because of the fact that you're able to ignore resistance, and this also goes for being able to KO something like the Mew, as well as being able to KO Latios if you already have Pheasantipity up. So you're able to take out those kind of like supporter mons, but for the most part, you're not really hitting for the Rock Tumble. So your power overall is a little low, but that being said, it still kind of works out in your favor, because this deck has a lot of tools and it can kind of manipulate and kind of maneuver in certain matchups. It just kind of takes a lot of time to learn the lines, and I think that's one of the things. Like, this deck does get a little bit better the more you play it, because it helps you discover some of the lines for it. Going into the consistency for the deck, it's not bad, but it's not great. The main thing is that you do need a lot of things set up and a lot of pieces, but once you have them, you're really good. I think one of the issues with this deck is the fact that, like I said, you do need a lot of pieces, so your consistency can kind of be a little middling sometimes, where you'll either get everything you need, or sometimes you'll kind of have to play around in order to get it. So like using your Budew to kind of give you some time, or like using your Sudowoodo early to give you some time, and things like that. But it can be a little bit of a struggle, but again, the more you play it, a little bit easier it becomes. Matchups, your matchups are really weird because none of them are like unwinnable, but none of them are like incredibly good either. Your Miraidon matchup is pretty good because you can wait until they play like a Latios or something, and then just immediately like boss trap it and be really annoying with like your Sudowoodo, which is how this deck wins an okay amount of its matchups, just like relying on Sudowoodo and Budew in your early. Because once you have the Excadrill set up, the Excadrill becomes like pretty good actually, but sometimes it just takes time to get your Excadrill kind of into place. So your matchups can be a little bit bad, but also kind of good. It's weird, just like Munkidori Froslass is just such a powerful combo that everything gets a little bit better because of it. So yeah, it's definitely weird, but overall I'd give this deck like a 2.5. It's definitely really fun if you're playing locals, or if you're playing around with your friends. This deck is a really good one to kind of play. I don't think it's going to be winning a major anytime soon, but it's definitely a fun deck to play with friends and locals, and just kind of mess around on the ladder with if you're trying to give yourself a little bit of a challenge. So if you're interested in that, feel free to definitely check out the deck. Like always, there's the deck list down in the description. And yeah, I will see you guys all in the next video. Be sure to let me know what deck you want to see next featured on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.